Okay, we're ready to start page 4 of Module 7, Lesson 8. This activity is titled, Which Salary Plan Should You Choose? So you're going to work as a salesman or sales lady in an electronics department, and you offer 2 different types of salary plans. So Plan A is $250 per week plus 10% commission. And does everybody understand commission is 10% of the sales? Do you understand that when you read commission? So you get 10% of your sales. Plan B is just to get a flat $400 salary per week. So nothing to do with sales. So what are the 2 things we don't know? Because that's what variables are, the unknowns. Identify each as either input or output. So what don't I know here? Do I know the sales? No. Do I know how much they make in their salary? No. So those are the 2 things I don't know. Now this one I do happen to know because they make a flat 400 no matter what they sell. So, but in this first one, we can easily see they don't know their salary because they don't know their sales. So salary equals blah, 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 plus 10% of the sales. So which one would be the input and which one would be the output? So salary equals, so that's going to be your Y, right? That's the output. So salary would be the output. And so what would be the input? The other thing we don't know is sales, right? So sales would be the input. And I can look down here and see sales is X. And salary for plan A is A. Or B. Because later on, I can see down here, the salary for plan B is called B. So there's 2 variables for that because we're going to have 2 different equations. So let X represent the amount of sales and A represent the weekly salary for Plan A. Translate the word description into a symbolic rule. Use function notation. So we know the capital letter is Y, and it's salary A with respect to X, the amount of sales. And now we go up and translate. So 250 plus 10%, and everybody remember percent, move it over 2 to turn it to a decimal, so it'd be 0.10 times the sales, which they told us to call X. So the salary for Plan A is $250 plus 10% of the sales. Of means times, so that's why I wrote 10% times X for the sales. Okay, so now we can use that formula to figure this out. Are these going in order? Add 4, add 4, add 4. Yep, so we can do like 3 of them and then fill in the last 2. So for the first one, the sales are 400. So we'd have the amount of the salary, if $400 are sold, is 250 plus 0.10 times 400. And let's just go ahead and write our first 3. That way we can put them all in the calculator together. So the next one would be $800 in sales. So the amount of her salary, if she sells or he sells $800, is 250 plus 10% of the 800. And I guess we can put the last one up here. So last is 1200. So the amount of her salary, if she sells or he sells $1,200, would be $250 plus the 10% of the $1,200 in sales. So then we can establish a pattern and fill those last two in. So for the first one, we have 250 plus 10%, 0.10 times 400, and that's $290. And it doesn't matter whether you use a times sign or parentheses, so I just use the easier of the two. So the salary would be $290 per week if she sold 400. Okay, so now we can hit our up arrow and change that 400 into 800. So just key over, change it into 800, and we get 330 is what they would make if they sold $800 in electronics. And then last one, 1200. So we just key over and type in 1200 on top of the 800, and we get 370. So now let's look at the pattern and we can fill in the rest of the table. So add 40, add 40, add 40 would be what, 410? And add 40 would be 450. So let's just check that last one. So hit the up arrow and put 2000 in on top of the 1200. Make sure it's correct. There it is. Determine the salary for Plan B if you sell $1,000 worth of merchandise. So Plan B, they make $400 no matter what they sell. Does everybody agree? That's what per week flat rate means. So Plan B, the salary would be $400. So $400 if they sold zero, $400 if they sold a million, $400 flat. Let X represent the amount of sales and B represent the weekly salary for Plan B. Translate the verbal rule into a symbolic rule. So B of X, because X is the number of sales, B is the salary, is just going to be 400, period. And you could write plus 0x if you wanted, just because there's an X, so they get $0 for their sales. So we can just go and put 400, 400, 400, 400, 400. So no matter what they sell, they make $400. Compare the two tables. Notice how sometimes one salary is larger than the other. So Plan B's better here, Plan B's better here, Plan B's better here. But once we get to 1600, then they make more money with Plan A and more money with Plan A. So they have to sell around 1600 in order to make more money, right? So if they sell, who knows what exact amount is, but if they sell 1200, then Plan B's better. But if they sell 1600, then Plan A's better. For what amount of sales will the two salaries be the same or the break even? Solve algebraically, because like I said, we can't tell by looking. We can tell it's going to be somewhere between 1200 and 1600, but we don't know for sure what it is. So break even is when you set the two equal. So that would be A of X. The salary with Plan A is equal to the salary from Plan B. Does everybody agree that's what break even means? The two plans cost the same. Solve to find the break even. So Plan A, if we look up here, was 250 plus 10% times the sales. So in place of that, we'll write 250 plus 10% of the sales. Plan B is just a flat $400. And you could write 400 plus 0x, but the 0x is just 0, so it's silly to add that in. So since the x is already over here by itself, let's go ahead and move anything over without an x. So to cross the equal sign, remember you do the opposite. So then we have 10% times the amount of sales equals, what is that, $150? And so to get x alone, we have to do the opposite of times 10%. So we're going to divide by 10%. So I'm just going to check my work here. So 400 minus 250. Yep, that's 150. And then divide by 10%. 0.10. And we get 1,500. So we knew it was going to be between 12 and 1,600 when the two plan, or when you make the same amount with each plan. And now we can see if they sell less than 1,500, plan B is going to be better. If they sell more than 1,500, then plan A will be better. Okay, so what's it say? For what amount of sales? So is X sales? Yes. So X equals $1,500 in sales. So for what amount of sales will the two salaries be the same? And that is the answer. So if we sell $1,500, then it doesn't matter which plan you use, but under 1,500, plan B is better. Selling over 1,500, then plan A is better. Okay, let's answer some questions on the back. I bet they're going to ask about that. So let's keep this paper handy. Graph both equations below. Label your axes. Use appropriate scaling. Okay. So we'll start on this and then we'll be able to finish it in the next video. So let's go ahead and draw in our axes. So think back to the last page. What was X in this problem? It was X, right? So we'll label our axis X and it'll be amount of sales in dollars. And then we need to see what Y is. Y is A on one and B on the other, and it stands for weekly salary. So weekly salary, and that will also be in dollars, because remember you always need units when you make a table. And we can call this A and B, depending on which plan we're talking about. Okay, so now we need to look at the sales so we know how to label the x-axis. So 400, 800, 1200, 1600, 400, 800, 1200. So it looks like they're going by, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16. We don't really want to go by fours. I think 100 would be better. 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,000.